Hi there, welcome to lesson 4, and in this one we're going to start drawing floor plans. Similar to previous with the site plan where we split it across 2 lessons, we're going to do the same with floor plans where the first of the 2 sessions is around just blocking it in, getting it all drawn, getting the doors in, maybe a tiny little bit of furniture, and then in the second session of the floor plans we'll then finish things off like furniture, we'll add annotations, all that sort of stuff, and similar to the site plan we will also then make it beautiful. So first things first, import, and we're working to images, we're working to these JPEGs that we found online. Oh, I do want to do a conversion, don't I, as well, similar to the previous one, although I could even scale it to the site plan now because we've done the scaling exercise and we want to match it, don't we, as well. Another thing I should mention is that the way Rayon works, and a lot of CAD programs do this, that you're working in like a view space, a model space, and then when you get to your sheet, you're then just pulling out these views per sheet. So a typical way of doing it is just dragging down the floor plan or off to the side. I'm going to work more vertically, like so. Let's then import the other, just so that's sorted. So now they've came in at different sizes, which is annoying. So what I want to do, so it lines up with the site plan as well, I'm going to just bring down those key elements like that. And good practice is to kind of work like this, where you know the way I've kind of copied it down, it's perfectly vertical rather than just like randomly dragging it down. Then what we want to do is pick a corner here. Will it let me, or what layer are we on? Layer annotation. Let's do a layer and we'll call it imports, and we'll drag that all the way to the bottom. Sorry, set it to that layer, and then there we are. Then we'll use scale, if I can find it. I like the way it gives you the instructions there. Pick the first point, pick your other point, and then scale to suit. Now I wonder whether I've got that. Oh yeah, yeah, you can see that there. So that must be, yeah, you can see the dashed line there, an overhang. Nice. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same sort of method to get the first floor plan. I think it says second floor plan. It's the American way of doing it. I'm going to use the same method to scale a second floor plan, but I'm going to actually use the ground floor plan when it comes to the drawn work. This is just to get the import at the right sort of size. I'll show you what I mean as we go. Okay, so our floor plans are in. They do look a little bit lost there, don't they? Well, it's fine. Oh, I just want to make sure that they're vertical. Another thing as well I want to touch on are these guides. So remember in the last one we created the guides layer. See, so look, something's happened already. That needs to snap to there. And there we go. This is a bit of an old-fashioned CAD trick where you just strike lines down to make sure that everything's in line. So that was a good little check. We can do our notes and stuff in a minute. So then it's a case of setting your wall thicknesses. Generally, external walls want to be 400 nowadays with levels of insulation. Let's actually make a new layer as well and start drawing in the right layer. External walls. There we go. So see these things here where it says align. Center's a tricky one because we're working to a drawing. You want to pick either a line left or a line right. If we align left like that, then it's your line, if you like, or the cursor is on the left side of the wall. Now that looks a little bit thick for this project, doesn't it? So let's just drop that to 300mm. Generally speaking, it should be around the 400mm mark now. But that is for another day. Now the good thing with Rayon is that it's not too dissimilar to Revit in that you can sort of click away, come back to certain areas. So see there, that's where you then want to change the alignment to right hand side. Let's maybe get rid of, well, I suppose we can get rid of that now, can't we? That line work. It's getting in the way a bit. Oh, there we go. There we go, a little snap there. Let's do the same over here. And for your own projects, by the way, you'd be working to set dimensions. So to just demonstrate that, if that was a specific length, so if you've sketched it out, or even if maybe you've got it in another program, or like you've got a survey or something, you work to an existing building, either way, you'd be working to set dimensions. And in order to type in accurate dimensions, you would start to draw the wall and then just do something, and then just type it in 11,500. There you go. And then it's actually working to that set dimension as well. And while we're on that, get used to working to brick dimensions, designing to brick dimensions. And these are the size of a brick plus a joint, and then the three little columns there, they're different situations to do with turning a corner, or whether it's an opening and so on. Because an opening, just to give you an example, is CO+, and that is the construction opening plus the two joints, essentially. And then you get all these different measurements there. So when you're actually designing a building, funnily enough, even if it's not going to be built from brick. It's a really good, apologies, it's a really good practice to get into, of just getting used to these charts and setting your, pretty much setting your building out to it. The reason I say even if your building isn't made of brick is that things like door sizes and window sizes and all that sort of stuff work to the same sort of principle. So it'll do you no harm whatsoever. Right, let's get back here, internal walls. And we'll set them to 150. We can align things shortly. Let's just get it all blocked in. And that is the one thing I do like about this program, is that we can sort of get it all blocked in initially, and then, oh, that was a bit too fast, and then come back and refine. So we've got that there. So I'll show you the align tool in a moment, because we're going to need it. Okay, well, I won't bore you with just repeating that. So let me just do the same for the internal walls over here, and I'll just trace this as well. Just the walls, nothing new, just what we've done so far. And then we'll get into the alignment tools and trim tools and all that sort of stuff, just to get it all nice and neat. Then we'll start to populate it. Before I get into the align tools, I did mention, didn't I, that I would show how to basically get the shell of the first floor perfectly aligned with this. And it's basically as simple as, I don't think we've got any other reference points, or have we? Let me just basically select a few walls and then bring them down so they're perfectly aligned there. But we have this overhang here. Do you see? But that wall's spot on. I don't think we've got a reference for that wall either. See the way that's there. So all we need to do then really is just push that over there. And then we just want to meet that one there. So there was one wall that aligned, and that's not too bad. So let me just finish that off, and then we'll get cracking with some of the editing tools. Mainly, I did say align, but the align tool's a bit weird. We're going to stick to extend and trim. I'm going to get the line work nice and neat, and we'll join external walls as best we can as well. Right, so we're all drawn up and blocked in. Let's now tidy everything up. So see little things like this where you want to drag that to here, and you don't always get a perfect snap. So to get that spot on, and by the way, let's just turn off those imports. It's just nice to get them out of the way for a little bit. So you can see we're a little bit messy in certain areas. So let's tidy things up. So let's go for trim up here. Now the thing is, what is nice is when you overlap like that, it creates a join anyway. So I do appreciate that. But just to be absolutely spot on, what you do is you select the trim tool. It then says select the element to trim to, so it's that wall. Done. Then select the path to trim, and see the way it gives you this little pink highlight there. You do that, and then it's perfect. Look at that. So that's not a bad way of getting like these two to align, like so. So if we go trim, select elements to trim to, and then select the path to trim. Could even do that as well. Select the one to trim to. Now that hasn't worked there. Select paths to trim to. So that's because it's gone beyond it. Let's try extend. Yeah, so that's not doing it either. So in some cases, it's nice to just draw a line in, and then you can either drag it back like that, which is fine, or you use that line as a trimming device. Trim to, select the path, there we go. So it needs something to intersect with it, basically. Here, we've got an opportunity for extend. Where is it? Select the element to extend to, okay. And there we are, nice. So there's a couple of options, trim and extend. You can just do that as well. It does show it as a solid wall. So it's trim, extend, and as I say, the align tool for me personally is a little bit fussy. So we just stick to trim and extend, or you use a little bit of line work to just help you out. So here I would actually bring that wall down, and then we've got that there. So we just extend that to the line. It doesn't take that long, does it? Happy days. I don't think we've got anything to worry about down here. Now let's make sure we're on the right layers. So we utilize the select similar, same style. Don't know why it hasn't selected that one. Anyway, select similar, select style, right? Now let's change the fill while we're there. I suppose that's where it presents itself, but we'll actually select the color. Let's go for that light grey there, and we'll do it for the internal walls as well. But then with all of that selected, let's make sure that they're on the external walls, and they are, thankfully. That one though isn't. We use the colouring there to just help us distinguish it. Then same here, select similar, style, make sure they're all on internal walls. It does look as if, oh no, nope, they're not. Let's get them in. Select similar, style, make sure they're on internal walls, and then select that light grey. Okay. Now I want to turn off the external walls, so I can just delete that. Have we got explode? We have. Let's just follow the steps. Select elements to explode. Done. I must have done it on the previous move. There we go. Okay, let's turn the external walls back on. The import back on. And then I just want to use a little bit of line work and actually... let's see if we can bring some of this down. So we want that. There we go. Lovely. We've got that outline, and then see that there, that looks like it's a little terrace. So we can bring that down, make sure it's perfectly vertical. You can see it snapping there. We've got the line work for that. And then for this line work here, what we can do is turn off our trees. And just hold shift, and then we can just bring some of this down. Just to give us a bit of a guide, and then we can just finish it off down here. We can extend that in a mo. Now see this dash line here, that represents this overhang here. So let's draw the line initially. Right. And then move it again vertically. And then we can just change the style. Oh, I like that. Detach the style from the other ones that are similar, and then add a dash. And then I'm sure I increase the scale. Yeah, there we go. We just turn that off. Nice. Edit the path. There we go. So intuitive, especially if you read the instructions at the bottom. You just can't go wrong. Okay, so we've got our line work in. Oh, let's extend that out. So, sorry, I said line work there. We've got our walls blocked in, and we've used some basic editing tools. Let me just get that drawn in. Sorry. Just copy that down. And by the way, sorry, before we add door openings and a little bit of line work, one thing I want to point out is this is a lovely way of starting a drawing. It's very fast, it's very intuitive. But then what I would encourage you to do is check these dimensions here, because they're quite random dimensions to set out to, especially when you're building something. So what I would encourage you to do is clean them up as best you can. So turn that into like a 2400. The distance here, 209. Make that 2 meters. And it doesn't have to be like to the nearest meter, like that one there. Well, that's quite easy at 2.3. Just keep an eye on anything that's just going a little bit awry there. I like the way that just intuitively kind of joined it. So you got 2.3, 2.450 then, that's nice. Yeah, so that one there, 5.743. So that can be 5.750. Oh, it's glitching out on me a little bit there. Like so. Get rid of that and then extend that up. So there's an exercise to be had there on just making sure that those dimensions are nice and neat. As I say, the exterior you want to work to brick setting out as well. And again, it's a similar exercise. You get that overall length, you check the brick setting out chart, and then you pick the appropriate dimension that is nearest to that number. Okay, so that'll do us for the wall blocking out. Now let's just get into doors. So we go to our lovely block library, go to libraries, and then is there a section on doors? There must be. If not, the search function is brilliant. I might be rushing a little. Let's just search doors, it's easy enough. We don't want to use a pivot door. Or is he? Oh yeah. We just want to use a simple door, single door. Yeah, that'll do. Door EU. Right, and then we drag it on. And then the size of that looks tiny. That's even bigger still. It's a big door. So we'll do 1500 for that. And then it's a case of copying it, and then it knows to insert it on a wall point like that. Generally speaking, internal doors are 9, 10. There we are. And then it's just a case of, I've probably got the origin points a little off there, but it's then a case of just dotting them about. Will it let me? Yeah, that's actually not bad. But the size is a bit off, isn't it? There we go, that's easier. Don't know why it kind of loses its origin point there, but it's not a problem. Now, because we're just operating in 2D here, I'm not too concerned about whether I'm picking the right door for external, because we'll elevate it as we wish, basically. So I'm going to keep to the same door for ease. But if you were using like a Revit or something, then it's got to be spot on, because the door family you pick is the thing that you see in elevation. Oh, we've got a wall that we missed there. And then it's just a case of going through and just checking the orientation. Just give that a little bit of breathing room. Dead simple. So you get the idea there anyway. I'll finish that off separately. We've also got window openings. Now that we've got the thing traced over as well, there's nothing stopping us just sneakily dragging that down, so we can make little breaks in the wall, or we know where we're looking. So if we go to windows, I just want to keep to a simple window block. There we go. And then if I just hover over here and get a rough size, 2.4. Actually, let me show you this brick dimensions. So because it's an opening, it's CO plus, and what did I say roughly? That is 2400. So then we go here, CO plus, and we're looking, let's do that, 2485. And that is a brick dimensioned opening. Now, the two panels of wall either side, they need to be brick dimensioned as well, but you get the idea. Have we got windows anywhere else? They all seem to be sliders. That's garage door. Let's just use the move tool to do it properly. Oh yeah, we've got something there and there. Then let's see if we just type in sliding door. There's sliders everywhere, so let's see if we can. That's right, just needs flipping. And this is essentially full width. I like to leave a little nib there. Then look at that. Now, with increasing this, the width went up there, so I'm just going to knock that down to 100 mil. And then again, you know, while we're here, 4750. There we go, 4735. And just use the move tool to just get it in place. So we've got a slider there. Sliding window. Just see if we've got like a triple. I like the way it's recommending bifolding doors as well, so it knows what we're after. It's just I can't see anything for a triple, but we'll just keep to the double for ease. Don't need to obsess too much over that. And you can just see how simple that is, and it's letting us just preserve that corner there, which I quite like as well. So we can just oversail that slightly. Will it let us turn the corner? Let's see if I can rotate it. There we go. Brilliant. So again, just keep that corner there. And then we've got that nib. So it's that sort of process, really. Let me add the other windows and sliders and all that sort of stuff. And then we'll get to the last sort of step, if you like, is just a bit of line work around these steps and the stairs. And we'll just add a couple of bits of furniture just to kind of introduce the next lesson. Sorry, before I do, I just wanted to suggest another way of locating the what is it, same layer? Sorry, select similar layer. Another way of locating the windows, because moving the plan was a little clumsy, I must admit. Select all the walls, fill, and then just change the opacity to like 30 or something, just so it's really clear. See? That's much better. Just a little extra tip there. So leave that with me, and then we'll get into the bit of line work and dropping some furniture on. Right, so all the windows are in, and doors and sliders and what have you. So let's turn off our imports here and just double check a few things. We did say we were going to extend that. So extend to, and then select the paths to extend. There we go, look at that, nice and easy. I also want to tone down this line work. We'll just strike a line across there because we've got a terrace, just need to catch that. It probably wouldn't hurt actually to just finesse that as well. You could continue that as well around the others. Oh, same with this one. Okay. So for the garage doors, I've just used windows because I didn't want to show any sort of action or anything, you know, as in like swinging and all that sort of stuff. Let's also select these and get them back to 100% opacity as well. So another thing I wanted to touch on, sorry, get that sorted, is the ability to make your own blocks or your own edits. So just for example, this garage door is now just a window and it's just massively stretched. So you can go into your blocks and I could probably even, no, that's not it. I was thinking, what are we, window EU. There we go. So let's duplicate that. I don't know why it's not letting me. Was that? Yeah, so it has got a different definition at the end there, see? So we can then just change this to garage door. Okay. And then we can edit it to just make these things look a little bit more reasonable. Get rid of that center line. Make it look more like a solid door. I'm eyeing this in. I'd ask you to be a bit more accurate than how I'm doing it. I'm just demonstrating the process. So then now it's not showing like a glazing line, and the frame looks a bit more reasonable. But has that done that now to all the windows? Now, I'm going to leave that in, that bit, because it's important to understand that when I changed that one, it changed them all. And to the best of my knowledge, there's no way of making it unique because they're all relying on that same definition. So the best way to create something unique to this garage door situation is to actually just draw something. So if I just draw something very simple, and I'm being a little crude, I must admit. Just copy that down. Okay. Let's just make sure the line work is We don't want that. We just want, there we go. Right. You can then right click on that, make it a block, edit the block, and then see here we've got this insertion mode. We change it to line insertion. Done. And then we drop it on. Look at that. Brilliant. Let's just copy that over. Now again, look, when we drag that, it'll scale that frame a little bit. So what you want to do, with a bit more time, I would encourage you to then make your own blocks to suit the openings. So you're not getting loads of these stretched blocks everywhere. But I think that is a very good way of doing it. And then we just change the name there to garage door. And then I think we can rename that garage door. We can see there it's got the definition. So happy days. That's one way around the sort of block setup. But 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to use the standard library. That's also the same way you can create. I was struggling to find a third slider. Well, you could then just you could even just trace over that and create that third slider. So let's go back to our layers, our imports. It's a little bit off now because I've been messing with it. So for stairs, it's quite straightforward. It's a case of just introducing line work. So we'll just draw a rectangle around that. And then I would then set that off a certain distance. Let's say like a 220. I would then copy again and then use the previous step. Now it's not perfect in terms of tracing it, but it's doing a job. For your cut line, just trace what's there. Did I create a dashed line style? No. Let's duplicate that. Call it dashed line. Let's just reduce that. There we go. Nice. If that's a little bit lean for us, just beef it up a little bit. I then think we should create another style and we'll call this interior line work. We'll give it 0.13. We can beef up any line work as and when, but for now I just want to keep a nice consistent interior line work. And then let's go new layer. And I actually do want to split these into like stairs. Let me just turn that import off so I can just select it a lot quicker. We'll keep that to the stair layer as well. I like to use a simple arrow like that. Up. Obviously that's massive. There we are. It looks like the steps there, but that can't be right. It must be a hatch there. We've then got some line work here. So stairs is fine, yeah. That's looking a lot bigger. That's looking more like a 400. Although, what's the distance to that there? A meter. Let's do it 300 then. And then 300 again. Oh. That'll do. Now, I'm actually not a fan of saying down. I think you should do a consistent way of showing and do up always. So it's saying the same thing, but it's consistent. So that's if up is at the base, then that's the lower element, and it's going up to that area there. So that's a very quick way of adding a little bit of interior line work. And then just to round us off, so the lesson doesn't get too long, I'm just going to bring in, have we got a piano? That'd be quite cool to start us off. There we go. Simple as that. Scale it down to suit. And there we are. Happy days. Let's go back to that. Import. So that is the line work for your floor plans. Again, we'll finish the stairs off up here as well in the next lesson. So that's the blocking out and the basic line work. In the next session, we'll then finish them off, any bits of line work we need to draw it in, and then we'll basically render it all up. Nice hatches, nice textures, and some setting out dimensions as well, which I'll explain a few industry standards there. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you in the next one.